This is Kevin Crouch with Ellis County Weather, and I am starting a new series, a new segment called Wild Weather Wednesdays, when each Wednesday I will bring you new information about a wild weather event that occurred. The strange, the catastrophic, the interesting, the frightening, everything in between. And I thought there was no better place to start than right here in Jarrell, Texas. Back behind me here you see a memorial for those who lost their lives in tornadoes on May 17th of 1989, as well as May 27th, 1997. Now, that May 17th tornado only had one death. In 1997, there were several more. On May 27th of 1997, an F-5 tornado with an estimated winds of at least 261 miles per hour moved through the area, and it lasted 13 minutes. 13 minutes now. That's a long time for a tornado. Now, the interesting thing about this tornado is that it formed on the leading edge of the gust front. And so normally when a tornado comes through, one of the things that you notice is that you have a raging severe storm, and then suddenly it gets quiet, because what happens is that supercell moves through and you get the hail and the heavy rain and the gusty winds, and then it gets quiet all of a sudden as the rain-free base moves over your area. Well, this storm, the tornado formed on the leading edge of the storm, at least the part that was moving towards the town of Jarrell. So they got the tornado before they got anything else. So if you can imagine, a tornado does damage, and then all of a sudden later, when the damage is done, then you get those damaging winds, the large hail, the heavy rain, the frequent lightning. That was the situation in Jarrell, Texas on May 27, 1997. Now, I'm looking at notes here, and one of the other interesting things about this was kind of it was a very awful setup for this town, because this storm was moving southwestward. Now, if you know anything, normally storms move northeast, so this was almost moving the opposite direction, and so this storm was moving southwestward. So again, if you picture a storm, you have all the hail and the severe thunderstorm here, and then the tornado was down in this area. Well, as it was moving, they got the tornado first. So the hook echo was forming along the leading edge of that storm where it was actually moving. And so they actually got on the front end of that storm, the tornado, and it was moving in a direction where you wouldn't normally expect it to move. And so a very unique day for sure. Now, in the aftermath of this tornado, one of the things I will say is that the Double Creek Estates here in Jarrell was completely devastated. Homes were left with concrete slabs. And the tornado, some areas, if you were standing at one point where the tornado hit, some areas experienced, because of the slow movement of the tornado, experienced winds of around 260 miles per hour for 3 minutes. 3 minutes now. You can imagine standing in a spot for 3 minutes and experiencing F-5 force winds for 3 straight minutes. That's why there was so much damage done, because this neighborhood had that strength of winds the whole time. So there were 27 dead and 12 injured by this tornado here in Jarrell. And I know that anytime I had ever passed through this area as a child, taking a drive with my father or the family, Jarrell was always pointed out to me, because I've always been a tornado aficionado, someone interested in that. I've always been reminded of the damage and devastation in Jarrell, Texas. This is one of the places where getting into your central location in your home, getting to a low spot, unfortunately did not help these folks. This is one of those once-in-a-lifetime storms sometimes, where you're not going to see this kind of devastation very often. That's the fortunate thing. These kinds of storms don't happen often, but they are possible. And that's why it's so important to have a plan, be prepared. I read earlier today that 19 people were in one storm shelter. You know, storm shelters, it's not like every home has one. I'm looking off to my left here, and I see some mobile homes. If you live in a mobile home, you want to have an alternate place to go. And if you can find a place, a family member or a friend with a storm shelter, then that's great. Somewhere underground. That is the only place that would have saved anyone here in Jarrell. Because again, as you saw in the pictures that rolled through, homes were completely annihilated off their foundations. So remember the people of Jarrell. The town has grown here. I like the mark. Well, it's actually the marker ahead of me that says that since the tornado, the town of Jarrell carried on and has rapidly grown right here along I-35. Remember the people of Jarrell and stay prepared.